What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, and we're back with some Prince. That's right, we're going to start going through another artist catalog, and it's interesting. I know a couple tracks by Prince. When Doves Cry is, the tune I know most clearly and most comprehensively. I've heard a few other tracks over the years, but despite his significance as an artist, and I think his large volume of material, he's not anyone I've ever spent a whole lot of time listening to, so most of his catalog is essentially unknown to me. And I want to give a big shout out to Stan, a big friend and champion of the channel, just sent me a bunch of stuff, including a copy of his digital version of the Black Album by Prince. So I remember years back a friend of mine saying something to me about an album that Prince was going to release, and then he didn't end up doing it, and there were some people who had like bootleg copies of it. And this was in the 90s, when, like late 90s, when, downloading and Napster and those kind of things were becoming a thing. And I remember him, like, finding a copy of it, and presumably based on someone else's, like cassette tape or something, bootleg copy. But yeah, bottom line, I had heard a story about a Prince album that was pulled from circulation and therefore became sort of this legendary thing. But I didn't know the full story. Again, not really having spent a lot of time following his musical history. So big shout out to Stan. He not only sent me a bunch of material, including Prince, Thomas Dolby, a group called Cabaret Voltaire, which I'm not familiar with, but I absolutely love that name. So we'll go through everything he sent. Again, I'm going through a million different deep dives, so it will take a while to get around to everything. But I did want to kick off at least one of the deep dives from the things he sent. So once again, big shout out to Stan. Hope you are doing well, my man. And what he said about the Black Album is as follows. He remembers reading about it when it was released. Prince pulled it from circulation, and bootleg copies were the only way to get it. Stan's saying he had a pretty bad copy on cassette that a local record shop sold. He remembers reading that Bono and The Edge were big fans of it, as well as Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. And it was later released for a limited time on CD for a few years, or a few years back, and he picked up a digital copy of it then. It's pretty incredible, and the opening cut, Le Grind, which is what we're going to listen to here, is just a plain nasty party groove. So I'm really looking forward to this. He says he's also burned a Prince mix he made when Prince passed away, has favorite cuts, and some of which come, or a couple of which come from the Black Album, but none of the big hits, some more deeper cuts. So bottom line, we're going to go through Prince, the Black Album, then we'll go through the mix that Stan put together of some other tracks that perhaps don't get the attention they deserve. I'm aware of Prince's persona, it wasn't just the music. I think he had a visual aesthetic. I do remember another song called Seven, I believe, and I remember seeing the video for that many years back on MTV and thinking like, wow, like there's all sorts of visual narratives going on. It was clearly like an immersive type of experience. So I imagine he is an artist that is very much putting out art on multiple levels. So. Again, for anyone new here, I react to audio. Like, it began with me reacting to records and CDs in my own collection, initially mostly techno and trance and hardcore, and then eventually punk rock and some hip-hop, and then I took out some of my 80s vinyl, started reacting to Depeche Mode, and eventually found my way to Duran Duran, and that kicked off a pretty big Duran deep dive, and then more people started saying, hey, you should get into this group and that group, and so I've been going through, like 75, 85 different groups' catalogs in the last 6, 8, 10 months. But bottom line, as of now, I still am not set up to react to videos. At some point in the future, I'd like to get a second setup, maybe in the other room out here, where I can do video reactions. But for the time being, it's audio. I just, we play a tune. I sort of think about it in the moment. If it's a tune I haven't heard before, I'll think about the title for a minute, just, what themes could be at play, not in any definitive sense. And then we listen to the tune, and I think about my impression of it, and ultimately we just continue to explore the catalog. So again, to any Prince fans who may have just found this, big shout out to you. I'm just going to begin to discover this guy's work on a more deep level beyond just the handful of hits that I do remember over the years. So I'll stop gabbing away. This is the first track on the Black Album by Prince, and it's called Le Grind. And friend of the channel Stan says it's a pretty nasty party groove, so let's find out. I like the grittiness of that. zombified bass line. Can't make out the spoken vocals. I do like the brass is nice, it's subtle, it's not blaring over the whole track. Thought it might be over there, but I don't care. Curious who the backing vocalists are. Keys melody. And the true bass just doing it. This party is gonna last all night. When I kick the cue, scream, alright. Party, 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 party. Clap your hands, double time. It really has this relentless groove. Got some rasp on those vocal extensions. It's hot on the dance floor. Although, be careful about hypertone. I still can't catch that spoken vocal. It's so deep. This has like a improv jam feel to it, just bringing in new parts. A little trill. Put a little Richard in that shout. see people pop lock into this certainly. I do enjoy the all the lines work as a dance floor line or a sexual line. It's like every single one. It does have the feel of like an extended mix, a 12-inch mix of a more consolidated track. I didn't believe it was over for a moment. So yeah, number one, a groovin' tune, relentlessly groovy. And as I said, it had a bit of a feel of an improv jam session, different vocals coming in, different backing vocals, like different focal points of the different sections. And yeah, some interesting layers where that spoken vocal that started like near the beginning of the track and then came back a couple times. I couldn't quite catch what was being said, but a really cool tune, one that, you know, it feels a bit far away from the Prince tunes I do know. Again, like When Doves Cry and Seven, which, you know, even those two aren't very much like each other, I would say, but neither of them, you know, sound like, this is more like funk groove, you know, just real like partying on the dance floor type of feel. And once again, it felt more like a 12-inch mix than the like opening tune of like a normal studio album. So yeah, it's interesting to think about the composition, and again, knowing that Prince was like, wait, no, we're not going to release this. It makes me even more interested as to, you know, as we go through this album, you know, what its characteristics are, and, you know, maybe get a sense for, you know, what was it? Did he, you know, think that, oh, we need to, you know, rework this because sonically it's not where I want it to be, or is it like, you know, he wanted it to be more of a concept album? Bottom line, I'm sure there's some people out there who have some insight on this. One of the things about doing this channel is, you know, again, I began talking about techno and tracks that, like punk rock albums I've known for multiple decades. And even then, there's some people who are like, oh, you know, you've talked about a lot of things, but did you know this? And it's like, oh, wow, I never knew that. And then as I started to react to music that I don't really have a long history of listening to, the number of people who just, you know all sorts of information about particular songs, about the sort of context of, you know, when they were making a certain album, whatever the group or artist may be. It's amazing. So yeah, bottom line, I learned a great deal through people on this channel. I have no doubt this will be the case as we go through Prince's album. So big shout out in advance to all people who may have insight on the various songs. And yeah, once again, shout out to Stan for sharing this. As I said, lots of stuff to go through, so many different deep dives, so it may take a while to get through stuff, but we'll go through the Dolby stuff that you sent, we'll go through the Cabaret Voltaire, again, just that name alone. Again, I read, you know, going back a couple decades, especially like when I was undergrad, I was reading a lot of philosophy, so, you know, I've read a lot of Voltaire, and, you know, the idea of Cabaret Voltaire, I just like the connection of those two words, so we'll go through that material even though I have no context for that, not even like, you know, I don't ever remember hearing a tune, so yeah, bottom line, we'll go through everything. Big ups to you, Stan. Let me know what you all think of this, and I'll see you next time. Peace.